Welcome to another edition of the Sizzling Hot Marriage Show. This is Joe Folletti. Glad to be here with you. And I'm so excited to have with me today Ava Laura Gaither, uh, a celebrity. She's a celebrity life coach and an intuitive consultant. Ava, welcome to the show. I am so glad to have you. I get to hobnob with some of the world's greatest coaches and teachers and gurus and experts. And when came across your profile, I was like, wow, this sister is doing some stuff.
Trying.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. What do you do exactly?
hmm Yeah, I'll answer the second question first. So as you said, I'm a celebrity life coach and intuitive consultant, and really I work with high achievers, type A's, high performers who really want to shift from whole to wholeness. And we work a lot on their entire being. Everybody's throwing around the word holistic.
Mhm.
But really, I work a lot with nurturing my clients in their every multidimensionality of themselves, understanding that, we are spiritual beings, we are energy, we are here on this earthly plane, we are our feelings, and we are our mindset. And so, working with my clients to help them to shift into nurture and balance all of those pieces of themselves so that they can live the lives that they want to live. And that, of course, does include relationships. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Wow. So how long you been doing this?
Last 16 years now.
What?
Yeah.
You look like you didn't, you just finished college.
You know, as they say, what black don't crack.
That's what I'm talking about. That's wonderful, wonderful. So how did you get into this, Ava, Laura?
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have. There's a long
You got a
version and
story.
there's the
You got a
short version.
story. Huh?
There-
Okay, go ahead.
there's
That's all right.
there's the short version. But essentially, I went to school, went to Howard University in Washington D.C. Majored in psychology undergrad, and then went back for graduate school social work. And I was one of those kind of pie in the sky, idealistic. I want to heal the world. I want to
Mhm,
help
mhm.
everybody.
Right.
I'm the oldest of three children, and so I grew up, as the leader, as the one kind of, advising. My brother and sister would probably say bossing, but I'll say advising. uh, and so I knew I wanted to do that as a career. That was something that came natural to me. It was something I was really good at, and it was something that I really loved doing.
Okay.
So I got in the traditional mental health field, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about this.
Right.
This is not quite what I signed up for."
Right. Right.
And so I was a program director at an outpatient mental health clinic. And, it really just hit me that the system wasn't really set up to help people heal, but it was set up to help people to maintain their dysfunction.
Mm.
And because I couldn't do what I felt called to do and really work in my purpose of being, I started getting depressed, and I started feeling hopeless. I started feeling powerless. I started feeling like I couldn't really make a difference within the system. So why am I here? It's not like y'all paying me all this money. I'm showing up because I genuinely want to help. And so if I can't do that, then what's the point? And I went on like that for a while, really kind of feeling helpless, but still showing up because I wanted to help my clients. And it just got to the point where I just became sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Mm-mm.
I hated coming to work every day. It was
Mm-hmm.
just no longer
Mm-hmm.
working for me. And the sad part was, here I was advising and helping all these people, but I didn't know how to help myself, right? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know where to go to. I didn't even know what I know now is that I was really severely burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
But at
Right.
um And so finally, I spoke to a friend and she said, "Well, I'm having this women's retreat. Why don't you come on out and join us?" And so I
Mm.
did. And at that point, I would have done whatever she said. If she said, "Let's go hang glide or a bungee jump," I would have gone because I was at my wits' end at that
Right.
point.
Right. Right.
And so I went, and it ended up being, one of the best decisions. I got back to soulful self care, as I call it, meditating, doing yoga, just being out in nature. talking to other women and just, vibing and just having that time out for myself. And because I hadn't done that in so long, I was severely deprived. And there were so many things that happened that I just didn't even realize because I was so caught up in, what I perceived as my reality of just being in this powerless space.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got to this retreat, I ended up having a moment, where I call, really my breakdown, the breakthrough, that I found myself on my hands and knees crying out to God, like, I can't live like this anymore. You got to get me out of here. I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
And, it was ugly cry, boo-hooing, getting it all out. But I felt so much better afterwards because I realized how much I had really been holding on to.
Mm.
And that was until, of course, I realized, like, well, great, that was wonderful, but I got to go back to work on Monday morning. Like,
Right. Right.
it continues, right? Like, it
Right.
continues. And that's what I did. I went back to work on Monday morning after having this amazing experience. And regular day, you know, working with everybody. And then my boss calls me into his office and he says, Ava Laura, he was like, go ahead, sit down. And I was like, okay, sure. What's going on? And he said, he said, it's been great having you. I love you. He said, but I got to let you go.
Huh.
And I said, what? Like, me? Am I hearing you correctly? And he says, it's been wonderful. He said, here's an envelope. Here's your servant's pay. And yeah, I'm gonna have to let you go.
Your servant's pay. I heard that.
He did give me that.
Oh boy.
But
Wow.
I was literally in shock because I'm the classic overachiever perfectionist, never been fired from anything in my life,
Mm.
and so I was in shock. So ego was literally having a fit, like, how dare he? I can't believe he's doing this to me. And
Mm.
meanwhile, spirit is like, what are you talking about? You should be jumping for joy. You prayed for this, you asked for
Mm.
this. So what are you
Come
gonna
on
do
now.
about it?
Right. Right. Right.
Right? Like, you
Yeah.
manifested this. You asked for this. Um, and so fortunately I listened to spirit. And I said, okay, great. I said, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back into the social work field, get another job? Because as you know,
Mm-hmm.
jobs are a dime a dozen. It's not hard to do. Or am I going to really venture into the path of the unknown and do what I've been called to do? And obviously, I'm speaking to you today, so you know what path I chose.
Yes.
And I've been
Yes.
doing it ever since.
Wow.
I took what I call my 6-month healing sabbatical. So I really took some time out for myself to work on
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
um, and delve into all the aspects of healing that I felt, people really needed, that I knew that I needed. And so I
Mm-hmm.
learned Reiki, became a Reiki master teacher,
Okay.
studied life coaching, hypnotherapy, aromatherapy, all these different aspects of healing. And then at the end of that 6 months, I opened up Ava Laura's Healing Center, and that was in November of 2005.
Wow. 2005.
2005, right?
Wow.
I feel
Yeah.
old.
That's awesome. Listen, we right there together. When you said 2005, I said, ooh, 2005. I remember what I was doing in 2005. That's awesome. So really,
Yeah,
your experience really sets you up to do what you do for everybody, for other
absolutely.
people.
It was all a part of the journey. And that is for most of us, right? We look at those quote unquote negative things that's happening as like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was
Mm-hmm,
an answered
mm-hmm,
prayer.
mm-hmm. Wow. Celebrity coach. Okay, what's
Yeah.
that all about? Tell me, what's that like?
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
only like,
it's
that
beautiful,
sounds kind of
truthfully.
cool.
It's beautiful to work with, like I said, I work with a lot of high performers, a lot of high achievers, perfectionists, right? People who are really just trying to do the dang thing, right? Like, they really want to operate in purpose and passion. And so I've been blessed to work with a lot of people in leadership. I've been blessed to work with celebrities. I've been blessed to work with people who are really wanting to make an impact. And those are the people that I want to work with, because the way that I see it is, if I work with you and I touch your life, then you touch all the lives that you're already serving and working with. And so it's been a really beautiful experience to work with people that you probably know and that you've heard of, and their influence now becomes your influence. And so the things that they learn, and as they grow and work on themselves in their inner selves, they also help you to do the same.
That's awesome. Awesome. Phenomenal. So tell us a little bit about, your personal. I mean, you married. I mean, how does all this fit in together? Traveling around the world. Well, I guess you're doing everything virtually, but how does all that work
Virtually
out
and
with your
traveling.
yeah? I mean, how does that work out with your family? What's your situation? Tell us how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I am divorced. So I was married for 14 years. And God, I don't even want to say how long I've been divorced now. It seems so crazy. But I'm divorced. Not in a relationship currently.
So
Although
you
I came
free.
out of one. We'll see
So
what
you
happens
free.
on that front. Oh, I'm very I'm such
You
a free
like
spirited
Paul.
person.
You like I ain't got
I'm
nothing
free
holding me
even when
back.
I'm in a relationship. I'm always gonna be free.
I hear you.
Like I'm not gonna be in it if I can't
I
be
hear you.
free.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I mean, right. And that's what you're teaching people, how to be free.
Absolutely. Like I am not gonna be in a relationship that's gonna have me in a cage. That's just not gonna work.
Mhm.
So yeah. So it's beautiful. So right now I am really enjoying my life, living it up in Vegas and
Okay.
serving here and I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you have a lot of personal experiences to contribute to your counsel and your advising of people because you help people with their relationship stuff too, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So we're talking about marital intimacy and how to build it and how to maintain it. Um, what do you think? You just made an interesting statement. I'm free, and even in my marriage or my relationship, I stay free. What role do you feel like being free plays in building intimacy in your marriage? You would think, if you're free, then you're not really intimate. I mean, well, can
Mm.
break that down to me what you mean by you're free and how that
Mhm.
relates to marital intimacy from Ava Laura's perspective.
Yeah. First, let me just say that, like, for me, freedom is everything. And I think that was a part of the inner work of understanding who I am and what's important to me. There's going to be some people that freedom might not be as important, as low on the totem pole, right? They're okay with the status quo and going along and getting along in life. Where me, I'm always going to kind of buck the system a little bit and do things in the way that I feel that they best need to be done, even if that's not the way that everybody else is doing it.
What
So
about your
that's
significant
freedom for
other?
me.
What about your significant other? I mean, you know, how do you manage that?
Oh, that's easy. You marry somebody or you're in a relationship with somebody who has the same ideals and the same belief system. Not that you're going to be the same, but if they understand who you are and they
Mhm.
accept who you are and love who you are and therefore will support you. And the truth is I didn't necessarily have that in my marriage, which is why I am no longer married,
Mm,
because I was not with somebody who could support me in all aspects of who I am. And that's important for me.
mhm, mhm. Now, it took you 14 years to figure that out.
Well, now you know the work that you do, and I think that Chris Rock said it best, and I think it was the special, it was Tambourine,
Uh-huh.
which was one of my favorite comedy specials for him, where he talked about his divorce and everything that happened, and he said it. Look, essentially, when you're married and you're going through the process of getting divorced, you can basically cut the marriage in half. So if you've been married 14 years, it's really been about 7, because it's been a whole 7 years that you've been kind of looking to get
Come
out
on now.
and figure out what's going on.
Come on
And
now.
so that's the reality in most marriages. If you've been married 10 years, you've really been married 5 years. The rest of the
Mhm.
other 5 years, you done checked out and
Right,
you somewhere
right,
else.
right. So do you believe, Ava Laura, do you believe um, that you find the person who's right for you or not? Or do you believe that you can work on your marriage and make it right for you? I don't know if you understand my
Mm.
question, but
No, I
you
do
know what I'm
understand. And I
saying?
think it's a great question because I think a lot of people struggle with that, right? Speaking for myself and my experience, I met my ex-husband when I was 24 years old and we got married
Mhm.
at 26. And I will tell my clients, I work with a lot of millennials. I'm working with a lot of Generation Z now, and I love them. I love their energy. And I will tell them, please don't get married now. Do not be in a committed relationship right now. You still need to find yourself. You need to grow. You need to learn yourself. Because the reality is, in a certain space, you don't know who you are. I am not that same person that I was at 26. And I could not have known at 45 that I was going to be this person. So I married somebody who was at the level that I was at then. I didn't marry somebody who it was at the level that I am at right now. And so the reality is there was no, working on our marriage to get there because he didn't have the capacity to be what I needed him to be now. And so you want to marry above kind of where you are in that space. But the truth is, if you don't know, how can you do that? And so it's important to take the time to get to know yourself, to do your inner work, to do your healing, so that you can marry a person who has the capacity to grow as you're growing. And that's what I didn't do because I didn't know to do that.
Right. Now you're talking real stuff because it's when you're young you don't know. I mean you're blind, ignorant, and dumb when you're young.
But you think you know everything.
Listen, I remember my father told me, and the day that it was the practice day of the wedding. The rehearsal.
Yes.
The day before, and then the day before the wedding.
Yep.
My daddy said, "Son, are you sure you can handle this?" I said, "Yeah, Dad, definitely. I got this." Young, blind, and dumb, right? I had no idea what I was going
None.
for. No idea.
And most of us don't because truthfully, old school, I think it's different now. People are much more open. And like I said, millennials bring in that different energy where, they come to me, they like, look, Miss Ava, Lord, tell me what to do and I'm gonna do it because I'm not trying to be like my parents. They are just straight up with it. Like, I'm not trying to be about that life. I'm living life on my own terms. And so it's a very different energy. But if you're a Generation X and above, we grew up in a certain system and we followed the system. A lot of us are now trying to break out, right? We're trying to break free, but we followed that system, and that system was not necessarily correct. And I remember talking to my mom. This was early on in my marriage, and I said, Mom, why didn't you tell me it would be like this?
There we go. There we go with Ava Laura Gaither. That was awesome. Thank you, Ava, for sharing. Let me turn this off over here because I got all kind of things going on. She shared some serious stuff. Let's see if Dr. Davis, you around here. She laid some stuff on us that was powerful. So we need to talk about what Ava Laura was sharing with us today on the Sizzling Hot Marriage Show. All right, Dr. Davis is traveling right now. But I tell you, one of the big issues, one of the big things that she brought up that really blew my mind was she said that, when you're young, you're dumb and you don't know what you're doing. What y'all think about that? When you're young, you don't know what you're doing. You think you know everything, but you don't really know everything. You think you do, but you really don't. What are you guys' thoughts about that? I wonder how you guys feel about that. But in my personal opinion, I don't know. It's hard to decide when you're gonna fall in love and who you're gonna fall in love with. I'm not sure if you can wait. You're just gonna wait till you get older to marry and get married. I don't think so. So I don't know. And so the question is, when you get married, are you marrying the right person or the wrong person? That's the big, 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 big question. Are you marrying the right person or the wrong person? And if the marriage is bad, did that mean you married the wrong person? If the marriage is good, does that mean you married the right person? Does the outcome determine whether or not you married the right person or the wrong person? Well, let me answer the first question first. Should you wait till you are older to get married? Well, from what I can know, the statistics that I have seen recently, most recently, I can't say real recent, but is that people are marrying older and older these days. People are waiting till they're older to get married. In fact, a lot of times what's happening today, a lot of people are shacking up before they get married, or not getting married and just kind of living together. So there are trends, marriage trends going on today that I suppose so many kids have had parents that have divorced that they just lost confidence in marriage. And so that's unfortunate because I believe marriage is a wonderful thing, but it does speak to the fact that you might if to make the best decision as far as getting married is concerned, the older you are, the wiser you are. But like they say, there's no fool like an old fool. So even if you wait till a long time, that doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily make the best decision. So it's important to recognize that just because you wait doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be fooled or that you're not going to make a bad decision, pick somebody who's really not good for you. So it's important to keep in mind that the older you are, the more wise you are. But how do you wait, for love like that? You can't say love is not going to happen until you're older. Love might happen when you're young. You might have love in high school, but I've heard so many people who have married their high school sweetheart and we're fine. Then I heard people who married their high school sweetheart and says later on, I was too young. We were too young. Man, that's a tough one to kind of sort through. I think we do blame a bad marriage on a bad pick. But truthfully, you should have the skills to create a good marriage. There are skills to having a good marriage. So unfortunately, so many people don't have those skills, and actually destroy their marriage. And your picker can be off, just picking the wrong person for you. So yeah, I mean it's hard to say, whether or not you should. Yes, you should be mature and you should seek counsel. I encourage couples to seek counseling to get premarital, even before you fall in love per se. See if this is a good match. That's really something you should do to ensure that you're making a good decision, in my opinion. Of course, once you get married, you're married, and that's who you pick. And now you got to, lay in the bed you made and make the best out of it and work on it. And if you need counseling to make it better, get that counseling. Do whatever it takes and start early. Don't wait till you've been in a bad way for a long time. Get help early. So, yes, waiting is wise, but you can't necessarily wait on love. I mean, I guess you can. I mean, when it comes, it's there. So what are you going to do with it? Well, now it's time to evaluate, is this a good person to match with? All right, so the second question, that's my answer. I don't know what Dr. Davis' answer is. She's still at large. I'm
listening.
Okay, all right. Well, so what's your thoughts about that? Should you? I mean, since people are marrying later and they seem to be wiser when they're older, should the people wait till they get older to get married? What do you think?
For me, I flash back to the conversation we had with Dr. Gray when he dropped a significant amount of science on us, and he talked about a portion of the brain that develops, um, at a certain point. And this specific, the frontal lobe, right? That's where your logic and your reasoning and all of that stuff comes from. And so there's so much truth to what she was saying, and then there's so it's one of those things for me that I always find myself kind of toggling the fence,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's kind of a pendulum for me that swings back and forth in a sense that you think you know what you want, but then your brain doesn't support the amount of maturity needed to make that decision.
Right.
But then what's there, and one of the things that I've seen tremendously in therapy thus far is people who, like she was saying, that does not have a great sense of inner self. A lot of people who just kind of like, I started this thing wanting to love this person, and wanting to love this person, everything came about this person. And I have no idea what it is that I can do for myself. You know what I'm saying? And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that period of waiting forces you to really get to know yourself. Like you were saying about shacking up. And I think when you shack up, going back to yesterday, when you shack up, you're now you're now entertaining an amenity, if you will, that you shouldn't have until you're married.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those. It's definitely one of those rock and a hard places. But for me, if I had to do it all over again, there's definitely stock in waiting.
Okay.
There's definitely stock in waiting until you get to know yourself well past 25. Well,
Right.
I would even say well past 30. Establish yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because the next issue typically is finances. So establish yourself so that way you know who you are. You know what it feels like to be happy internally. That's something that you can contribute to yourself, and um, yeah, and then now you're in a place where you can give somebody some of what you've given yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Mm-hmm.
me, there's stock in waiting. But then again, if you move, in the presence of God, and you operate off of discernment, and God lays on your heart that this is your husband or this is your wife, then who are you to tell the big guy
Mm-hmm.
that you know what I mean? So it's a very slippery slope for me in terms of what the right answer is, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he definitely shared some woo. Like if I was in church, I would be like, all right, you preaching now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's look at the second question, and I got a third one too, based on what she talked about. The second one was, so if you get divorced, does that mean you married the wrong person? Or if you have a bad marriage, does that mean you married the wrong person?
You know what? Once again, I might have to defer to to God with this one. People are in your for seasons, right? Sometimes God sends you somebody to teach you a lesson, but because the flesh is weak, you don't went and married that person that was supposed to be for a season to teach you a lesson,
Hmm.
and then you wonder why every day you live in what could be considered to be hell on earth. And so for me, I don't think it's necessarily that the latter. I think it's more so like, again, because I believe in God, I just feel like that wasn't the season. So I don't think you weren't right for the person, or you married the yeah, I don't know. I'm telling you, like her points were so significant. It literally has you sitting like questioning, like, did I marry the wrong person? Because I mean, I was married for 9 years and 10 months, and I don't think that my ex-husband was a bad person, and I don't think that I was a bad person. I just know that I wasn't a great wife. I just know
Mm-hmm.
that I was not in a place where I could understand what it meant to be submissive, what it meant to be graceful, what it meant to be all of those things. So then it kind of goes back to her original point. I did it too young. I didn't wait to allow myself to be seasoned
Mm-hmm.
so that you know what I mean? And when I say seasoned, I mean like meat in this instance, because if you put some meat in the oven and you put the oven on low and slow, the meat gonna come out done.
Right.
But if you time to season that meat. It's still gonna come out done, but it's just gonna have a better taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely think there could be some age to it when you don't consult God first.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know in my first marriage, I definitely consulted God, and I felt convicted, and you know, just because it failed, does that mean that it wasn't of the Lord? You know, that's just the question that has to be answered. You know, um, I don't I don't know. I think you made a point that life is full of lessons, right? And we're all growing, and you know, um, how do you look backward and say, well, you know, because it didn't work out, that I shouldn't have made that decision? I don't know. You grow from it, you learn from it, you gain from it. And divorce is not the end of the world. Losing a friend, you know, is not the end of the world. Um, Losing someone in death is not the end of the world. You know, it
But
shouldn't be.
and I'm sorry to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask God, because I'm gonna be honest, right? I didn't wait on God to answer.
Mm.
I asked as a means of checking the block, and I never heard
Mm-hmm.
God really tell me that that was my husband. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted him, so in my mind, so like when you asked, did you wait? Because I know I didn't. But you are such a different, mature, calculated individual. I'm sure my faults ain't yours, but I'm serious. Like in that sense, like I don't know. I don't feel like God will be like,
Right.
gotcha.
Right. Well, I mean, you posing a very good question, Dr. Davis. And you know, I'm trying to think back 25, you know, years ago now. No, 30. 30, 35 years ago. Um, there was definitely reason for pause. Um, Let me just say this, that I would not be the therapist that I am today if I hadn't had the experience that I've had in marriage. Um, I wouldn't. This would not be my passion if I hadn't been through some hard times and really desire to help couples um, navigate through those difficult times successfully. So I wouldn't have my story if I hadn't gone through the experience. Now, did I make a mistake? Could I have been just as passionate about marriage in a successful marriage? Probably. So, I mean, a divorce means you failed, right? So, does that mean God failed? Does that mean I failed? Does that mean I picked wrong? Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't want to go back and second guess the decision I made 35 years ago, um, um, because I had my reasons and I felt convicted to move in that direction at the time. I don't know. I think it's hard to. I think it's wrong to say you made a mistake because things didn't work out. Things don't always work out. You're learning. You don't know everything. You can't see the end from the beginning like God. Does God protect us, shield us from all kinds of mistakes? And I mean, you learn how to walk. You skin your knee. You break a bone. Did you not? You know, was that a mistake to try to learn to walk?
No.
So I don't know. I hear you, but I don't know. I think we do a lot of that. I think a lot of that is just we do a lot of regretful thinking, you know,
Right.
and I don't know if that's helpful, because
Yeah.
really to me the helpful is say, okay, what did you learn? How did you know how?
Yeah.
I've got two beautiful children, you know, as a result of that marriage. You know, so it's hard to just, you know, criticize the past, you know.
Right. And that was my whole point. Like, and when you said what you learned from your marriage and how it shaped you into who, what, and where you are today, I think that speaks to that speaks to wisdom, because there are a lot of times we go through things in life, and we don't learn from it,
Right.
and we but marriage is one of those things. I mean, because there are some people on their second, third, fourth marriage.
Hmm. And do you give up? I mean, some people say, "Well, I've done it. I failed two, 3 times. I'm not trying again." I mean, okay, but I mean, love is worth having. I think
It's worth working for.
absolutely. And I mean,
But
I've been
know
alone.
that
I know it ain't no fun. If but we can't judge nobody else. And I'm saying we should be careful about judging our own experience negatively.
absolutely. And that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, sometimes it ain't even about judging others. It's about judging ourselves. You know what I mean? Because, I tell people all the time, I just wasn't a good wife.
Yeah.
I know what a wife was.
Right.
And I was so young in trying to be a wife. I was trying to mature into a woman, into a mother. So while I'm trying to learn how to be a wife with not a real life example, I'm still 19. I was 19 years old when I got married.
Mm-hmm.
Found myself pregnant a couple of months later. So not only am I learning how to be a woman, I'm learning how to be a wife. I'm learning how to be a mother. Something, yeah, something just didn't get it.
Right. Right.
So now this contributes to her point about being too young, about really knowing. So again, I think it's really good to have conversations where it leaves you like, wait a minute, let me think this another way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what she did.
Yeah.
She definitely
And, in
did
retrospect, right?
that. Mhm.
In
Yeah, 'cause I'm old.
retrospect, right? So I think about my kids. Should we tell our kids, hey, hold off. I don't know. I know I told my kids something. My two older sons. I don't know if I've said this. Yeah, I probably have. But the pandemic has kind of helped on the next set. But the older set, I said, you can't. I'm not gonna allow you to date till you're 18. I said, you don't need to date till you're 18. Now, if you do, it's behind my back. I don't know nothing about it. That's between you and what you do. But as far as me, I'm telling you, don't do it. You're saving yourself a whole lot of hardship. Now they kind of look back on me, and they're kind of mad at me for making that declaration. But I feel like, man, I feel like both of my sons have made great choices. I mean, we don't, they're happy. They got their struggles, but I feel like it was a mature choice. They were older. I think both of them were either pretty close to finishing college or had finished college when they made that final decision to when they got married. Both of them found their wives in college. So I don't know. I think if I don't know. I think it's wise to wait, and I think it's wise to tell your kids to be very cautious and careful. Marriage is a wonderful thing, but it can also bring a lot of misery and suffering. So, yeah. What are you telling your kids?
Oh, definitely to wait. I flash back to the promise ring conversation yesterday. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because a lot of people want what they don't have, or they want what they see, but we
Mm-hmm.
do a good job as human beings showing you what we want you to see. And so here you are thinking marriage is great. And don't get me wrong, it's great. But you have to be ready for
Mm-hmm.
marriage. You have to be ready to share you.
Yeah.
Because so you say to yourself, so I'm walking around really a half.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because two becomes one.
Right.
And so I tell Key and Camille all the time, like, let me tell you, take your time.
Right.
Take time, invest in you, be selfish, take yourself on trips. Wait for the minute to change. Like I tell my daughter, wait for the minute to change your name. And I tell my son, you wait for the minute to change somebody else's daughter's name.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
me, I definitely tell them to wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a tough question. Ava Laura also said, she said that I think she said, was she talking about Jamie Foxx or somebody she called, some star's name got a divorce and said that if you, whatever time you were married, you really stopped being married halfway through that time. She said she was married for 14 years, but the marriage really ended 7 years before. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Like, you know what? And I shared this in our Sizzling Hot Marriage group. I was divorced before my divorce was final. I was divorced before we submitted the paperwork to King County in Virginia for a divorce. So absolutely. I mean, because those last couple of years when you know you're done, you spend those time just like being miserable. You thinking about the bills, you thinking about the kids, you thinking about everything else. You thinking about the mortgage, you thinking about, who gonna get the equity in the home. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to wait it out to cut your losses to
Right.
minimize the amount.
Right.
But in all actuality, most people who divorce were divorced at least half of the time prior to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely agree.
Mm-hmm. Um, I found that for most people, divorce is not easy. It's not, what I mean by this, it's not easy for couples to make a decision to divorce. For most couples. I mean, some people like, I'm done, and they jumping out. I mean, they ain't been married but a few months, weeks. But for most people, um, that's a real difficult decision and takes time to make. People throw it out all the time, threaten, 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 threaten. But to actually carry it out, I find that people really, it usually takes a long time for people to finally come to that conclusion. Because, you have to no longer hope. You have to give up hope. There's no hope. This person is not going to change. We're not good together, and you have to come to that conclusion, and it takes a long time usually for most couples to come to that conclusion. And it should, but so that marital bond is often a difficult bond to break, and that's good, man. You made a decision, a commitment for a lifetime. I think that it's important to seriously weigh that decision. Um, so I'm saying all that to say that yeah, I agree too that half the time, uh, you know, you've been struggling long enough to come to a point where you say enough is enough. I mean, I've seen couples who've had multiple affairs and over many years and still married, and so it doesn't have to be the end. Even an affair doesn't have to be the end of your marriage. Many couples come back from affairs, but there's often that last one that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and the bond was broke. And this is very difficult to come back after that moment. And again, that could be on the first one for some people. Because I think people are weighing, cost and benefits. What's the cost of this marriage? What are the benefits? I mean, I think everybody pretty much accepts that you can't have everything, that your spouse, your partner is not going to be everything you want them to be, 100%, and are willing to accept 80, 70, 60. But once you start getting down to 50, whew, and you don't dip below 50, 45, I'm benefiting from you about 45% of my, 40. At this point now that the balance is getting really low in that love tank and that ledger, that's when the marital bond is at a place to be broken. And so, a lot of couples come to me and ask the question, can we make it? Is this worth the effort? And I always say, hey, your marriage is worth the effort. If you can stay married and be happily married with someone who's caused you so much misery and pain, man, that's the way to go versus getting divorced and having to go your separate ways and going through all of that. That continues to reverberate throughout the rest of your life. So I encourage couples, yeah, you can make it if you both are willing to try. We can give you the tools to work through the stuff and get back on the other side. So yeah, that's my answer to that one, a long one, but anyway. So I want to encourage you. This is the Sizzling Hot Marriage Show with Joe Folletti and my co-host, Dr. Saitik Davis. We're just here to talk about marriage, to encourage couples. You can have a sizzling hot marriage. If you want to know more about what we do, go to sizzlinghotmarriage.com, sizzlinghotmarriage.com, and we'll be glad to, you see that right there, sizzlinghotmarriage.com. We'll be glad to give you a free sizzle evaluation and see what's going on in your relationship. We have some great programs for couples who are in trouble to help you to save your marriage, grow your marriage, and love your marriage. So make sure you check us out at sizzlinghotmarriage.com. Well, and also when you go to sizzlinghotmarriage.com, you'll see our Valentine's Day 21 Day Sizzle Challenge. Encourage you to jump in that challenge. It's not too late to get into it. 21 Days Sizzle Challenge. I think you'll find it very scintillating. So you don't want to miss out on that opportunity to grow closer with your boo. So make sure you go to sizzlinghotmarriage.com to find out more. We're going to finish up Ava Laura's interview tomorrow. So make sure you tune in at noon tomorrow. And we're going to finish listening to Ava Laura Gaither, the celebrity coach. We're going to be thrilled with her again tomorrow. We're looking forward to another day, and we're looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. So make sure you tell your friends as well. Make sure you like us on Facebook and that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and make sure you share with your friends. Well, until tomorrow, blessings on you all. Thank you, Dr. Davis, for your contribution today, and we will see you guys on tomorrow.